heading home from the Laurel Hill 20K race today. Finished first overall in an hour 38 and some change. I think it was the official time. A couple minutes faster than last year. So I broke the course record that I had from last year by a couple minutes, but I wouldn't say I was faster than I was last year, because last year I got lost a little bit. Did like an extra mile-ish. So even though I was, time-wise, I was 3 minutes faster, I really didn't run faster than I did last year. And I also felt like I wasn't really running hard at all during the race. Pretty much ran comfortably the whole time, since that sort of seems to be my new style, to save energy instead of blowing up. So I was pretty comfortable not pushing the whole time. The only time I pushed was maybe the last half mile or so, when we hit some like rail trail to finish out the race, when I saw I was going to be under the course record time. So I sped up a little bit. Other than that, I remained within my ability that's sustainable. So my sustainable ability, I guess, is the word that you could say. But glad I went. Glad I took and lowered the record and finished first. Bigger crowd than last year. This is only the second year for the race. Laurel Hill State Park is beautiful. If you've never been there, you need to. They got some clean facilities. Still around a clean park, even the trails. So you start by like the boat launch area by the lake, because they have a lake and stuff like you could fish at. You run down some like rail trail road along the well, I think it's Lakeshore Trail. And start the race. It's sort of nice because it lets people spread out a little bit, so you're not like bottlenecked right away for like a trail race. And then you do like a quick, we'll say like 50 yards on the road to get to the other side of the lake, and then you hit that lakeside trail. So that lakeside trail, not necessarily the name of the trail, but like that side of the lake, it's a little bit more rugged, probably one of the two technical spots of the race for like a mile and a half. It's got a lot of roots and some rocks sticking up, so you gotta watch your footing so you don't catch a little bit of root sticking up, trip and fall. So I made sure about watching my footing, put an emphasis on that side of the trail, while I was slowly gearing up to a higher speed pace. Even though it was still like a 7 or 8 minute pace, I wasn't trying to do like a 6 or anything like that, try to redline. I was still just gradually speeding up to where I found that I wasn't like running comfortably anymore. I had to actually piss on that first, like within that first 2 miles. I figured ladder felt heavy, and I was like, I'm just gonna get it out of the way now instead of dealing with it mentally. So I did, and then I saw one guy behind me a little bit, like as I was tucking it back into my compression shorts. Then I took off again, and then I saw him once more when we hit the bridge, popping out of almost at like mile 3. And then one last time, like 3.5. Then after that, never saw him again or anybody else behind me during the race. At one point, I think I did go a little bit low on the one trail. Then I had to get back up a couple yards or something like that. Like around mile 4.5 range. once we hit like the Bobcat Trail today, I was so comfortable and locking into my pace and zone. I just felt good after that. Which, like, Bobcat Trail for the most part is, I feel, is uphill. Whether or not that's true or not, it just feels that way. Little rocky in spots, but nothing bad. It's really gonna shake you away. There is 1 or 2 creek crossings which you can get over them, like especially like today, where it's drier compared to last year when it was the whole course was just a puddle or flowing creek. This year was dry, so very nice. Temps right now it's like 56. It might have hit 60 at the most today, but I would say it's probably like lower 50s. So perfect, like running weather almost, and breathing weather. But there was this tree down. I know it came down last year sometime. I can't remember if it was before the race or after the race when I was up there playing on the trails. It was a huge tree and knocked out like a bridge they built. And it's still, even though it's cut up this year, the bridge isn't fixed. And I went to step on the one log or plank, whatever you want to call it, and I almost fell because the back, it teeter-tottered up in the back, so I almost went forward. I was like, well, that was a dumbass mistake. Luckily, I didn't fall. I probably would have sucked early on in the race. Then I just continued on from there, plugging up the hills. Wasn't sure what the competition was going to be like coming in, so I didn't want to nick around too much, but I also didn't want to use up a bunch of energy if I didn't have to. Some of the access roads that we took, I did crank it up just a hair more, just to start banking time a little bit and to get ahead. And since there were a lot of times straight stretches, you know, once I got to like a bend or something like that, or a divot where like you wouldn't be able to see behind you as much, I would look back and I didn't see nobody, so there wasn't as much pressure on me this year per se. Like I said, as I ran comfortably all day. And then that one long gravel road that we took, it's like 300 or 400 feet of gain. It's like a long 1.5 mile stretch. I looked back like twice on like 2 peaks of it, and there was nobody in sight, so I at least knew I had like a 2-minute lead. Then once we got back on the trail, down around like the dam, what is it, Jones Mills Dam Trail or Jones Mill Dam, whatever it is, and we crossed the creek there. On the, like, the rocks were a little bit slippier where we crossed, but nothing bad. After we got past that, I felt very comfortable, my position wise, that I could hold on to and maintain it. Not much else to really say race wise. I could describe the course a little bit more. We'll say like mile 7.5, 8, it did get a little bit rocky going uphill, like fist size type rocks running up, so it's a little bit harder in that section, but nothing major. I know I had gas basically the whole race, which was concerning because I was like, oh, if this keeps up I'm gonna have to poop. I didn't take any water at the 8 stations, the 2 that we ran past, because I had my naked belt on me, so I had 18 ounces, and for like a 12-13 mile race, I forget what it actually came out to, like 11.6, so a little bit short of like a 20K, but I knew that was enough liquid on me, unless I redlined. I think I only drank maybe 3 ounces of liquid during the race. I'd have to check. Definitely not more than 5. So I guess that's good. Fitness level didn't require it, or just the way I was running, I didn't have to. There is some nice longer stretches. When I say longer stretches, I mean like a couple tenths, whether it be road or trail that you run on. So you're not worried about twisting and turning, or doing a bunch of quick up and down like trail. So it's a pretty runnable course, and I would say like the average runner could run the whole thing, at least in a 20K. I'm not sure what's all in the 50K, but being on like even the parts of Laurel Highlands the 50K does, it's still like, if you're, you know, your average runner above should be able to run it all, at least in my opinion. So that's what a couple other people said. It sort of sucked you in a little bit today because you could run the whole thing, where some of them were used to like more really technical trails with like elevation gains, you know, like steep elevation gains. So then they were like me taking walking breaks, and they didn't have that today. So that's what made it harder for some of them. You know, just being able to run the whole time sort of sucked them in. Other than that, I'm not really sure. Well, the story of the day for me is a pooping story. So as I said, I was getting some really good gas, and I knew I was going to have to poop at some point. It was just inevitable. So I did. I think it was right before, like a couple of tenths right before that second aid station that we hit. It was just, I knew it was like go time. There's no more holding it back, because I wasn't sure if I had 2 more miles or 4 miles to go. I couldn't, you know, with it being a 20K in trail, I couldn't remember, since I went off course last year a little bit, ran a little bit more. I wasn't sure exactly how much I was going to have to do. But even a couple miles, I was like, yeah, it's not going to be held in anymore. So there's this water tower. I just like went right beside it. I didn't even try to hide myself in like some trees or anything. I was just like, screw it. I'm just going to poop like right here in the open behind this water tower. So I did. Tried to wipe with like this leaf. It was kind of dry. Then I found this like bigger greenish leaf, and I was like, this really isn't helping too much either. So I was screwed, and I took my hat off, used my hat. I had no other options, because I didn't have no shirt, no wet wipes. So I literally used the hat, the inside part of my hat that I was wearing, to wipe my ass. Luckily it wasn't as bad as I thought, but I had to hold my hat after that. I didn't want to put it in my naked belt, and I wasn't putting it back on my head. So then it took about a half mile before we hit another like creek crossing. So I went down to the creek because there was a bridge going across it. Washed my hat in the creek, cleaned my hands, put the hat right back on my head. No shame in this game. So that's my poop story of the day, is I literally pooped, used my hat to wipe, cleaned it, and then put it right back on my head. I mean, obviously I'm gonna wash the hat. I use soap and water on my hands afterwards, but at the time, did what needed to be done and got it done so I could continue running, because there was no way I was going to be able to run and hold it in anymore. It's one of those trail running things. Not sure what I ate the last couple of days, but I pooped twice this morning before the race, and then I think twice after the race too, so far. So whatever I ate the last couple of days, just, or my guts are just cleaning out. There was like a couple photographers on the course. The one guy went by twice, but he wasn't even set up yet. He was, the second time he was getting ready to walk to where he was going to go. I was like, oh, coming behind you, and he stepped off. The one woman got me in some pictures, like with less than a mile to go. So we'll see if I get any or not. Should have a couple at least. But this year, with like, we'll say like mile 11 into the race, like I knew I missed the turn last year and got all confused. Even when I went and videoed the course later on, it was still not the right way. So when I knew I got close to that area where there was a turn going to start, I made sure to look for it, and I actually found it this year. I guess it makes a little bit more sense to run that. It makes it actually like trail. I don't know how I missed it last year. I think because there was a dude behind me coming up, and I just, you know, with the pressure of him, I just wasn't paying attention enough. Anyway, so it like drops down and then runs like a creek bank for a little bit, like a couple of tenths, which makes the race a little bit nicer than the route I took last year that had a backtrack. Makes more sense, even though that trail not necessarily the most well marked. Or when I say that, is I mean it's not worn down as much as some of the other trails, so it's kind of harder to read at points. But I still got it done because I knew where I was supposed to be going. And then you finish on that like Lake Shore Trail, finish up the last couple of tenths where I turned it up just a tad bit more. What else can I tell you? I don't know. This year he used blue and neon green, like survey flag looking things on the ground for course markings, and then at the turns he used little arrows, directional arrows, which way to go. Then obviously at the 50K split, you know, he had 50K with an arrow and then 20K with an arrow. I mean, if you know the course, it's not hard to read because the trails don't necessarily branch off. But if you don't know the course, I would say I would like to have probably triple what he used because they were pretty far spaced out. If it was more like a out west type trail or down south where, you know, you're really only putting them sporadically when you actually need to or at turns, which is fine. We in PA, we just got to get used to that more because I know more races are going to do that instead of, you know, like flagging every tree, which I know is not what happens, but, you know, just saying in general that people mark sometimes overly what they need to, but it's nice that be overly flagged and not overly, and then second guess yourself. But I also had the GPX file from last year as a guide. So basically, except for the last like turn that I missed last year, my GPX file was correct. So I just followed that. And I was just telling somebody, I think GPX files are sort of cheating because it gives you so much information when you're able to like follow the course on a map on your watch. It tells you how many, at least for Garmin, it tells you how many climbs you got left. It'll show you how much feet you got left in a specific climb with how much longer distance-wise that climb is as well. And it has an option to allow you to see how much mileage is left of the race. Little things like that make a huge difference, and that's why I say it's sort of like cheating, because you have so much more information if you're going to use one than other runners that don't have it. And it just helps so much. And then on mine, there's like an ETA of like time left, which helps, because it's like, all right, so the pace that you're on, this is how much longer it's going to take you. So it helps you plan a little bit like nutrition and hydration wise. But I mainly today used it for the climbs, as I did the other week for Grayson. See how steep the climbs were, how many were left. It was like preferred screen. Once I hit a hill. Other than that, I used like the map, but it kept going back to like my main distance screen for the most part. So yeah, I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, definitely get GPX files if they're available. Again, it gives you such an advantage for like a trail race. Road race, probably not so much. Even if there is a bunch of hills, I don't think that it's going to be significant enough to really help you in a road race, except for maybe to make sure you're going the right way. So if there's a bunch of turns, then yes, but not elevation wise or how much miles you got left. That's about it. We got a cool coffee mug, some stickers, cool shirt. My awards are in the back seat, so I can't get them out. Yeah, legs feel good, body feels good. Glad I went, had a fun time. This food afterwards was just, he gets soup from this one company. Like Donegal. I don't want to mess the name up, but the soup is awesome. They have like 6 or 7 different kinds. Some really good salad afterwards. Like, I know they have like clam chowder, lobster bisque, something with curry in it, like tomato basil, vegan chili. I don't know. There's like 6 or 7. I forget the names of everything, but I had the lobster biscuit. It was freaking awesome, dude. I could eat that by the gallon. It just tasted so good. Yeah. Other than that, I guess that's about it. I still feel good. Legs still feel good. A little tired, but I'm going to be able to take a nap here in like 20 minutes. So check it out for next year, because it's a good race. It's a good, like, local Johnstown race, but he actually has some guys, like, he had a guy from Utah, Colorado, some Pittsburgh people come in, some Virginia people come in and run the race. It's not just a PA thing, even though it's more like a southwest PA thing so far, dominantly. So it'd be nice to expand out a little bit more, get a couple hundred people at the race. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I guess I'm about done with that. So it's my Laurel 20K race recap for 2023.